My first ever console growing up was the Super Nintendo. It was the console that introduced me to the world of gaming thanks to who else? Mario. But putting aside that Super Mario World was already a pack-in title, if there was any game that was my favorite on the console, it was from Mario's internal rival, Donkey Kong. More particularly, Donkey Kong's family, more on that later, with the release of Donkey Kong Country, developed by a developer in Twycross, England, in the UK, known as Rare. Several years later, even without owning a real SNES anymore, since replayed on Nintendo's former Virtual Console service on the Wii, and replayed again on Nintendo's short-lived plug-and-play SNES Classic system. After all these years, do I still hold high praise like I did as a kid? Let's find out. The story of the game involves Donkey Kong and his sidekick Diddy Kong, learning that their banana supply was stolen by the alligator-like Kremlin King K. Rool, and that's it. Simple, but it works. On to the gameplay, and of course, Donkey Kong Country is a platformer, playing not unlike Mario from Bros to World, going through obstacles and fighting enemies, be it by jumping on them or throwing stuff at them. But there are enough about Donkey Kong Country that make it stand out from the Kong's rival Plumber. For one, we introduce a second character, named Diddy Kong, who though smaller and weaker than DK is a little quicker and can be tagged, or as backup should DK get hit until you find him. Same with Diddy should he get hit. Another are the animal friends DK and Diddy get to ride on, whom unlike Yoshi, who primarily eats and the occasional ability from color-coded shell with slight ability changes from unlockable variants, some of DK's animal friends can carry abilities they can call their own. Rambi the rhinoceros can charge and use immense strength with his front horn on land, similar with Onguard the swordfish while underwater. Espresso the ostrich can float longer as he descends, and Winky the frog can jump higher. In addition to that, if you collect 3 matching golden icons of each animal, you do a bonus level that can give you a stock up on lives, depending on how many tokens you collect. Some allies of the duo are also fellow Kongs themselves, including Candy Kong, who will help save your game, though releases like the SNES Classic and Nintendo Switch Online will give you save states. Funky Kong, who will allow DK and Diddy to go back to past worlds they went through to find secrets, and of course, Cranky Kong, who gives the Kongs advice. Fun fact, Cranky Kong is said to be the original Donkey Kong that first faced off against Mario back in the arcade original. Could you imagine if Cranky was in Smash and he saw that plumber again? Hoo boy! What's also slightly different is the multiplayer. Like Mario, you still take turns. Unlike Mario, you have slight more variation, like you can do 2-player competition where other variants of DK and Diddy are playable by the second player given the color coding of yellow, or you can do 2-player team, where the second player waits until they are tagged like it's wrestling or a tag fighter. This mode in particular gives me very fond memories with my dad growing up, as he would always be Donkey Kong due to him always being the big man of the house. Such good times. Anyway, to top it all off, the biggest difference from most SNES side-scrollers at the time were the visuals. And here, Rare were one of the devs that pushed the SNES to the freaking limit as they chose to render in 3D with the character models. And they age pretty damn well, especially when it's still so silky smooth with its very stable frame rate. Of course, the backgrounds and levels are pre-rendered, but even with some of the same themes, Rare did their damnedest to diversify the levels, even with bosses that are recolored and resized standard enemies with different attack patterns. And they largely succeed, as the design is pretty damn good for the most part, sans maybe when you get to the industrial stages. That one attempt to be stealth with the stop and go lights, and of course the minecart stages. Being on rails and a side scroller when you can't quite see up ahead and the scroll can be quite frustrating. But beyond that, Rare's first ever foray with Donkey Kong is an amazing romp to play through. Of course, I should talk about the sound. The 3 composers in question being Robin Beanland, Evelyn Novakovic, and of course David Wise, bring a mix of varying genres, from something tribal in the jungles and forests, to industrial sound in the, well, industrial stages. And of course, the very prolific aquatic ambiance. Need I say more? Overall, to answer the prior question, yes, Donkey Kong Country remains my personal favorite on the Super Nintendo. Never have I been so mind blown as to what that game showed me as a kid on the technical front, and in addition, something that is still a blast today. And it's thanks to this game that would start, for 2 gens at least, one of the most iconic partnerships in gaming. Still, if you can find any method of playing this to see where Donkey Kong became most popular after the arcade classic, this is a must.